great story. You know, he was a kid who he was in the club, the Penn State Wrestling Club here, and asked for a spot on the team a few years ago. And great student, hardworking kid. So we gave him a shot. I mean, I don't think he ever expected to wrestle or for the team, but he got that opportunity and had a Big Ten win. So we got to wrestle in Jordan Center, got to wrestle in Rec Hall, and got to wrestle in on the road in the Big Ten. So I think he was really excited, and we're happy for him. Great kid.
How important are guys like that in the program? You did a good job recruiting, bringing in so much talent. But what do walk-ons or guys like him that are starting out?
Well, yeah, it's up to these kids, what they're going to get out of their experience here, whether they're, a walk-on or recruited walk-on or, a big scholarship or small scholarship, right? It's kind of up to them. They get to decide and through their work ethic and their attitude. And, one thing that we've seen is if a kid's in here working consistently throughout their career, they generally get a chance to wrestle, right? Scotty has been consistent, has always been a very hard worker, and he got a chance to wrestle when he was ready, as he's going to be, right? He also faced some tough competition, but that's kind of the way it goes for most of our kids. If they're actually willing to be consistent and work hard and do the right things, then most of the time it seems like they get a chance. And it's just a great example of that.
Will he be among the seniors honored on Sunday?
Yeah, he will.
And then, do you know how many others?
More than I'd like, but some of our kids graduate in 3 years, or not 3. We actually, I think one kid graduated in 3 years, but sometimes they're done in 4 years, and then they choose not to use that 5th year of eligibility. But no, I don't have the number off the top of my head. It's a decent list though.
Yeah, it's another senior class, another recruiting class.
Oh, I'm sorry.
About to go away. I know you get pretty attached to them. How difficult is it for you and then the staff when this happens?
Yeah, we like them, but it's. I think I say this every year, but I don't. They did their thing and they had their 4 years, and some of these guys have made the most of it. Guys like Jason Nolf and Bo Nickel have had some really outstanding kids, and they do their thing here, and then it's time to move on in life, right? So I don't really. Yeah, I'm gonna miss them, and it crossed my mind that with Bo and Nolf, especially those two were guys that we won't see again in a Big Ten duel, but it's not time to really think too much about that. It's about getting ready for the Big Ten and the Nationals, and then really it's they had their 4 years and make the most of it, and then move on in life. And I think that's the way I look at it. So I don't get too sad. I think that it's exciting to to build another team and create another wave that can run through, and hopefully put some good teams together moving forward.
Cael, Bo and Jason are obviously focused on Big Ten national titles, but how much competition is there between them for that Penn's record? I mean, that's a pretty big thing at Penn State, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any competition between them personally. They both want to win by fall every match, right? They don't need any additional motivation. That's brought on by guys like Pat. Who he's
It's Pat's fault.
But it just says a lot about them that they're looking for that, and they're pushing themselves. That they're both leading a program like this with just an incredible history of many years. To be the two that are out in front of the Falls is pretty special. So, but there's definitely no competition between those two personally. I mean, they want to win every match they can by as many points as they can, and that's the way it should be.
Cael, obviously when you recruit guys like Bo and Jason coming in here, you hope that they're going to have the success that they had. But did you expect them to be this good, and this consistent for this long?
Well, you hope they're going to be good, right? And a lot of times you get the kids that think that Penn State's the right place for them also, right? I mean, a lot of recruiting it's not just about us trying to talk somebody into coming to Penn State. It's about finding the kids that want to be at Penn State, and that with all the media and the different looks they get into a program now, kids can kind of figure out where they want to go generally before the recruiting process starts. So a lot of it's just finding the right kids and kids that want to be here. That's really important to us. Kids that want to come to Penn State are generally the guys that end up being the best for us.
Did you recognize the potential in those two guys right away?
Well, we were hopeful. You know, I'm not going to say that, you know, we thought they'd both be in the position they're in right now. I mean, we're hopeful and we believe in them. And, but ultimately, like, it's always up to those guys, you know, being ready in the big moments and living the right lifestyle and continuing to improve, right? So, but they've both been really outstanding, obviously.
Looking back 4 or 5 years ago, you had 3 highly ranked kids and Neville's and Alvin Nickel that you chose to redshirt that kind of set up the foundation for where you are today. What went into that decision, and is this kind of what you envisioned when you redshirted those guys, 4 or 5 years ago?
We were hopeful. A big part of that was also we just had other guys that wanted to redshirt at the time, and Zane was planning on wrestling. I remember the conversation I had with him, telling him that we're probably just going to redshirt him, and that was getting close to the beginning of the season. He was planning on wrestling, but it just made sense. And he was a guy that, a guy like Zane, I think his leadership over the last 3-year run has been really important. So a lot of it was, you try to figure things out and do the best you can, but ultimately, obviously, it's up to these guys, and they've really had some outstanding moments. We're hoping to, have a few more here moving forward, but things have worked out.
When you have a highly ranked kid, usually they obviously want to wrestle right away. When you sat down with an Alpha Nickel and wanted them to redshirt, what was their, immediate impression that night?
It depends. It depends on the kid. It depends on their experience up to this point. I mean, not all kids want to wrestle as a true freshman, right? I think a lot of it just depends on your team and what your needs are. A guy like Roman, that was kind of always the plan to wrestle as a true freshman. A guy like Zane, that was the plan when we were recruiting him. And but a lot of times, if you can come spend a year in the program here, you're going to be better, right? It's just sometimes the team needs guys to step up and wrestle as true freshmen. Nico Megaludis knew he was wrestling as a true freshman. And, just kept plugging away, ends up making the national final as a true freshman. But it's not a case where they all want to wrestle as true freshmen. If they don't, you definitely should probably be throwing them out there, right? Mark Hall, we ended up pulling his red shirt late, and he made the most of it. He went out and won a national title, but it's up to those guys to. But yeah, most kids, I don't think they come in here thinking, man, I want to wrestle right away. Some do, some don't.
What do you think the value of that redshirt year was for those 3 and for the team overall?
Well, I think they both could have done well wrestling as true freshmen, but I think it was the right decision for them to take a year to just really kind of put things together, and they're confident enough that they think they believe that they're going to do well as true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. So it's just more about them trusting their coaches and what maybe the plan would be for them and kind of going from there. But every kid's different. Some of these kids are 20 years old. We have some true freshmen that turned 20 this year, right? And it's not like they're 16-year-old, 17-year-old kids. We have 17-year-old kids also. There's a huge variety in how old the kids are and how physically ready they are to go. So it's always based on the individuals.
From what you saw over the weekend, you say this team's in mid-season form from what you were going through?
I think so. I think they're wrestling really well right now. I think they're have the right mindset. Thought they wrestled well, especially the last 3 weeks. When it was time to step up and we started seeing some really tough competition, I think they rose to the occasion. And the question's going to be, are they going to do that again, right, as we get in here to the postseason? I believe that they will. We'll find out.
Last year, heading into the final duel at 197, you said it was between Shaq and Hussar. Whoever started that final duel was going to go with you guys to the postseason. Is there a similar dynamic this year at 149, or is that kind of a different case?
Yeah, I think it's a different case. It's not definitely not the same thing there. Last year Shaq was hurt at the beginning of the year and came back and just made sense. And, looking back, you hope you make the right decision. I would have liked to have seen what Hussar would have done also, but he's made the most of it. This year, I don't think it's really the same kind of situation. They've both been wrestling throughout the year. Bergie, as you know, he wrestled whenever our last match was 2 days ago, I guess, and looked pretty darn good. So, but yeah, probably. If whoever wrestles this week would probably be who we will see in the postseason. That would only make sense.
when you look back at the career that Jason and Bo put together, do you think that their impact on this program is more on the mat or off the mat, more they carry themselves and things like that?
Well, it has to be on the mat, right? I mean, if you're not winning matches and people don't really care what you're doing outside of the mat, right? So, I mean, it has to start with, you know, guys that can compete and represent Penn State on the mat correctly, and then them being able to do the right things, doing well in school, and obviously being good examples of, you know, the kind of kids that, or guys, I guess, men that, you know, kids would look up to, and that we're, you know, not worried about them ever, you know, in any situations and how they react. You know, that speaks volumes about who they are, and but, you know, two of the best that'll ever wrestle. I believe that. We're very grateful they're here, and we just want them to continue with wrestling with some gratitude and some enthusiasm as we push through here in March.
Yeah, last year you talked about when you were recruiting Ed Ruth, you wrestled him, and you said he was the first guy who really wore you down. Did you do that with?
I don't think I said he wore me down,
or
but he putting words in my
you
mouth.
must do.
That was. I didn't actually recruit Ed Ruth. He was already here because I had compliance contact me based on the comments saying that because he was already on the team. That was the summer after he'd already signed an NLI, but I wasn't really clear in the press conference. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did you wrestle with Bo and Jason when you were recruiting them? Is there anything that stood out?
Well, Jason is from Katanning, right? So he's within. I believe he spent some time in our RTC. I don't think a ton, but Bo, no. Bo's from Texas. It was just not a first time I wrestled him was when he got here for summer school.